Simon, thank you very much for coming in and agreeing to talk to me. I'm really excited about it. We've known each other, 2014 is it?
2014,
that we met. First strategy session in the Hotel de France in a borrowed room and all of that.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, which was great. Delta's obviously a really important client to us. We worked together for a long time, and I think it's a very successful local company. Biggest in the Channel Islands, does lots of work in Guernsey. I think there's lots of interesting things that we can talk about.
Let's hope so.
So in terms of how did you get into working? Like, what's the stuff I don't know from the time before we met?
So when I was a kid, I think like most kids, I wanted to be a footballer.
Okay. What position?
Striker.
Okay.
I wanted to score the goals and be a glory hunter, obviously. But obviously wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. I went to live in Liverpool when I was 18. All my mates, I left school after 1 year of GCSEs. I didn't pay attention for the first year of sixth form. And at the end of the sixth form, the teacher said, you either stay down a year or you go.
Right.
And it was actually the day before my birthday, and I was like, well, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I've always just had a kind of, I'll work it out when I need to kind of mentality. Yeah. So I thought I'll work it out when I need to. Yeah. Probably worried my parents to death. Yeah. Was in love with DJing as well and music and house music when I was from an early age. And all my mates went to Liverpool University, and I was like, said to my mum and dad, I want to go and be a DJ. Okay. Thinking they'd say, absolutely no chance. Mm-hmm. But 24 hours later, they sat me down and said, here's 500 quid, go and follow your dreams.
Wow.
I've spent the 500 quid in a week on McDonald's. But so I've always had incredibly supportive parents, which has been a massive help to everything I've ever done. But I went and lived in Liverpool for a year, loved it, did what I wanted to do, came back for the summer, and a friend of mine at the time was working in the industry, said, come and give me a hand for the summer. And I was like, doing what? And he said, just come and give me a hand. And I fell in love with it. Okay. Absolutely fell in love with it.
Was that straight into Delta? Or?
No, it was a company. It was Joy's. I worked for Joy's when they had a company in Jersey, and this is like 1995. Mm-hmm. Wasn't the most technical of people, but I loved the environment. I loved events, and ever since then, I've known it's all I've ever wanted to do. So I worked for Joy's for a few years. Then I moved to London to work for a large company over there, doing what I'd done in Jersey, but on a much larger scale. Massively taught me so many lessons. I mean, within a year of working in the UK, I was video project manager for Labour Party conferences, and I felt massively out of my depth. But it was the circumstance I was in. Yeah. It wasn't something I'd been cherry-picked for, but the company I worked for, it was just a situation that I found myself in.
So was it as a result of just working all the hours, or why did they
No,
pick you
so
to
we had a client who I looked after. I was account manager. I was given them to look after as an account, and they had the Labour Party conference. They had the technical responsibility for delivering the Labour Party conference 2003, 4, 5, and I was looking after the video side of that. I was really worried that I didn't know what I was doing, because it wasn't, in my head, it wasn't scalable. What I was doing in Jersey was neat and tidy, and I could manage it.
So did you have to start learning how to run teams at that point?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
And how big were those teams?
They could be anything from 4 to 12. So I was only 25, 26. Okay. Worked in the UK for 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. Was come back to Jersey because it was my family base. Met my wife. Okay. And thought, well, I need to come back to Jersey. Okay. And then the opportunity came to work with Delta. Mm-hmm.
So how did that come about that you got involved?
I said, I'm coming back to Jersey.
Okay.
Rang the guys at Delta and said, I'm coming back. Is there any opportunities? Because again, I just thought, I want to be in Jersey. Yeah. Something will happen. Yeah. And they said there potentially is an opportunity. Started with them a few months later.
How many people were at Delta when you started there?
12, probably 12, 13. So it's got bigger, it's got smaller, it's got bigger. It's kind of fluctuated in size to suit the needs of the business over the last 20 odd years. I've been there 20 years this year. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and the business is 32 years old as well. So yeah.
And what had you worked with Lloyd and Crick before?
I knew them from, because they used to, Delta started out supplying all the equipment for the raves at Inn in the Park. So our paths had crossed in different situations so I knew the guys.
You took the opportunity. When you came into the business, what role did you have? Because you were
production manager. Yeah, so kind of responsible for, it was like an account manager effectively, but it was the role I've been performing in the UK.
And the production manager, is that technical, or do you?
It's responsible for client liaison, looking after the clients, quoting the jobs, making sure the specs on the jobs are correct and relevant to achieve what you need to achieve on that job, and looking after the clients and the team.
So you were, a lot of your job now continues to be interacting with the clients. I guess a lot of those clients have been around for a long time.
Yeah, some have been with us since, I've been with some for the last 20 years.
Right.
They've changed positions and changed roles, obviously, as they progress, but still got the relationships there.
In terms of the industry and your competition, so who is there a lot going on? Is it very vibrant, the industry, in terms of the number of suppliers in it, or how does it work for people that don't know?
Jersey's obviously unique because it's obviously 9x5. So in the UK, there's obviously, in a 9x5 radius, there'd probably be 30 companies competing for business because they'd be coming from slightly outside of that 9x5 radius. Here, we've got 110,000 people. We've got a very vibrant event scene corporate-wise. So there's 2 or 3 companies that can look after technical supply over here. Then you've got your marquee companies, you've got your power supply companies. In most sections of the business, there's probably only 1 or 2 that deliver to a high standard, just because there's no need for more than that, really.
And how did you so you were doing production manager. How long were you doing production manager before you started to get sort of more involved at a senior level?
From when I started the business, I know life doesn't fit into a nice little picture frame, but I always thought I was probably 28, 29 at the time, and I just thought I'd like to own this business by the time I'm 40 and sell it by the time I was 50.
Okay.
Now, this is exactly what I want to do, but at the back of my mind, I was like,
there's a direction of travel.
Yeah. Ever since I've been a kid, I knew whatever I do in life, I want to pay people's wages, not have people pay wages to me.
Okay.
Not from I want to be in control, but I want to be in control of my own outcome.
Yep.
So that's kind of always been at the back of my mind as a bit of a driver. But after being there 2 years, I was offered the opportunity to become managing director.
Okay.
Again, felt massively out of my depth. Mm-hmm. And for the first few years, I probably wasn't a great managing director.
What do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, I put pressure on myself on a daily basis. I always want to be better than I am, or want to improve, and I want to help other people improve in what their roles are. And I think in my head, before I became a managing director, you probably need to build towards that.
Okay.
I hadn't built towards that in my head. The opportunity was offered to me by...
How did that happen, that it happened so fast? Because that's pretty quick. I mean, you working hard or just really good?
I think the business had naturally increased over the years, and it needed a bit more structure. And the opportunity was offered to me saying, do you want to come on board and be managing director? And I was a bit like, not too sure, actually, because I didn't feel ready. Right. I was just shy of my 30th birthday, I think, when it was offered to me, and I didn't feel ready. Okay. But I took it because I thought, I'll work it out.
Yeah.
And that's I spent the first 2 or 3 years trying to navigate, how do I become a better managing director? How do I know what I need to achieve? And that took me a little bit of time. But only now, that was 2008, so I'm nearly 20 years later, I feel really comfortable and confident in my role, probably in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I think since COVID, I've really thought, you know what, I'm comfortable in how I'm delivering what I'm delivering.
Yeah. I mean, you were a big advocate during COVID because your online profile is not massive. You don't like to put yourself out there as much as other people do.
Do not feel comfortable doing this. I'm only doing it because it's you.
Okay, well, thank you. But there's this, during COVID, you were front and centre. You were really keen to make sure that the industry was looked after, because there was a worry that it wouldn't be, right. And I mean, when you look back at that time, how do you feel about you being out there in front of things? And
it didn't make me comfortable, but we needed to do it. Not just for Delta, for the whole events industry, we needed to do it, because I know everybody was massively affected by that period, but the events industry, we were staring down the barrel of a gun thinking, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We had, I think at the time we had 14 staff, and it was just like, well, from now on, no events. And I was like, well, that is probably in my working life what I am most proud of what our business has done, because I think we navigated that. I think we navigated it really well, and we came out the back of it on the front foot.
Yeah.
We made some decisions quite early on, thinking, right, we have to do something. And I think the way our business looked after our staff and our team and our business, I think that's I'm probably most proud of in the last 20 years.
And
of what I've done.
What decisions were you making back then that you look back at now? So I'm so glad we did that.
Well, we jumped on that. We've got to invest in the equipment to stream at a high level, not just stick a camera onto a laptop. We're the industry leaders in what we do. We have got to jump on that, and it meant spending a fair chunk of money when we had no money coming in. We took a calculate. Well, was it calculated? No, it was probably just a risk. Now you can look back on it and say it was a calculated risk, but it was a risk at the time. Yeah. And we've just fought really hard. We spoke to our clients and said, look, we know you've still got to communicate. We'll help you communicate. And we came out of that period on the front foot rather than the back foot.
And for people that don't know what you did, so how did you iterate the service to enable that?
So we had to invest in some, like anybody can stream. So like I say, you can get a camera and a laptop, but there's some quite sophisticated technology we had to invest in to allow multiple venues to be able to link in, present to multiple venues. And we had to invest in not just one of them, because I thought there's going to be more than one person that needs to communicate their message. Because at the end of the day, businesses were still working. They still needed to communicate, but they needed to do that in the correct manner at the time, and we were able to facilitate that, which hadn't been done.
Is that kit still being used all the time?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because now people know. A lot of people are quite conscious. I've got a presenter in Brazil, but I'm not going to fly him over because he can just stream in. So we still use that on probably every 2 events. We're streaming 2 or 3 people into to an event. And again, it's just somebody doesn't want to travel, somebody doesn't need to travel. They're just presenting for half an hour. So yeah, we're still using that technology now. So it was a sound investment on our behalf.
Yeah. And one of the things, so we always work on. You guys are always looking to do some capex, buy some new kit, make sure the vans are decent, and that you always seem to put the business needs before the needs of the shareholders, and the business is successful, and so you can afford to do both. But talk me through, that thought process around the quality of the kit, the reinvestment cycle. How do you go about making decisions around how you're investing in the future of the business from a kit perspective? We
are industry leaders in what we do, so we have to always have the latest equipment. We have to reinvest in that equipment. So there's no point us having some equipment. And we've still got some equipment that's been on the shelves for 10 years because it still does the job it needs to. But we have to be able to offer our clients the option to do something different. Some years it might be, well, we can only afford to invest this much, but we need to invest it.
And in terms of, what do you think that does to staff retention? Do you think there is an impact on staff retention?
Definitely, I think so, yeah. I think because we prove that we constantly want to reinvest in the business, that definitely helps with our staff and how they feel about the business.
Yeah,
and we involve the staff in the capex we're looking at this year. We're involving the staff and saying, look, guys, what do you feel we need? You're on the ground every day.
Yeah.
I'm not on the ground every day. You know what's needed, what's not needed. You know the bits of kit that will make your life easier, that would improve a client's event. So let's all be involved in the conversation.
How does the training work around that? Because they're all technicians to a degree, but if there is the video wall, for example, when you bought that, how does it work in terms of you're spending a lot of money and a risk again. How do you make sure that can all the team work on that, or do you select a couple of people to work on it, or how does it work?
The way our business operates, we have different disciplines. So you've got sound, you've got lighting, you've got video, you've got stage and set. We've got people who have dedicated skills in that area, but all our staff can work to a decent level in all areas of the business. So when we get a new bit of kit, if it's an audio bit of kit, the audio team will learn that inside out, and they then will drip feed that information down to the other members of the team who maybe audio isn't their speciality or their strength. They will drip feed that information down to make sure we
shadowing way.
Yeah. But a lot of our training is done on the job.
Yeah,
because you can't teach how to work in a live environment without being in a live environment. Yeah. You can set that up in the store, but there's not the pressure of a live event where you've got queues, you've got presenters coming in. You can't fake that in a store. So a lot of our live event work is done in live events.
Yeah. And in terms of the client base, so you're it's predominantly financial services, government departments, all that sort of stuff. Has that been a conscious choice, or do you think that's just demand?
It's demand.
Supply and demand.
Absolutely demand. Yeah, there's a lot of private clients who have birthdays, weddings. There's a lot of families we've done 18th birthdays for, 21st birthdays for, and then done engagement parties and then weddings. So there is a lot of that, but it's predominantly.
So is there a particular? So in terms of choosing your customer base, actually, it's just we're happy to look after anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and
we feel a responsibility to be able to look after whoever wants to be looked after.
At the highest level, because you're the biggest firm. In terms of Guernsey, so when did you start going to Guernsey? Did that happen early on?
It was never a conscious decision to say, right, let's go and attack Guernsey. We had one or two clients. We had one client who we did a monthly job for in Jersey every month. Small conference, but it was solid business. This is 20 years ago. And they said, look, we're going to go to Guernsey. Can you do Guernsey? And we were like, well, if it's 12 events a year, then yeah, we could, small little store, have enough equipment to service that. Not going to be a money maker, but the kit's there. And then if someone else phones up and says, "Have you got some kit? You've got some kit in Guernsey, we can service it." And we've never actively sought to increase that. It's always been, we've got a client who's doing an event in Jersey, and that's how it's kind of progressed, just through word of mouth and through looking after Pan Island clients.
I mean, lots of Jersey businesses sort of, they grow to a size, they've grabbed a lot of market share over here, and then they go, right, what do we do? Are we going to do different types of products and services, or are we going to look at different locations? And most often the conversation that I have with people is about going to Guernsey. I mean, do you think there is a difference between what people expect over there and what they expect here, or what are the lessons to learn from working there compared to working here?
It's not vastly different. We're working in the same industries, and it's financial services and it's private clients. And most of the time we are working with the same client that we've got in Jersey that they're managing both sides. So the process is smooth from our side. There's no real differences between the islands. In terms of how they operate. Yeah. Venues are different. Yeah. We're very, very lucky in Jersey at the size of the venues we've got, and I don't think people realise that. People think, the venues are crap over here. They're not. Yeah. And Guernsey's a smaller island, so it's going to have smaller venues, but when you work in both islands, you realise we are very, very lucky at the size and range of venues we've got.
Okay. And in terms of the freelance thing, we used to have debates about how many employees to have and how many freelancers to have. And how do you feel that because it's mostly, obviously guys are either going over to Guernsey or you're having the freelancers in. What's the process around deciding how many employees you need versus how many freelancers you need in Jersey, in Guernsey, or versus a skill set that the team here doesn't have and you bring them over from the UK? Yeah. How does that all work?
Certain jobs have to have a very high skill set. So we could train people up, and we do train people up. Mm-hmm. But to bring in someone fresh who doesn't know anything about the industry, to train them to get to that level does take years. Yeah. So sometimes we don't have that time to be able to do that. So we have to be able to say, right, well, this job on 2 months' time needs someone of that level. The people we've got in the business of that level are already committed to other events, so we have to bring them in. Mm. And we're lucky that we've got a kind of pool of freelancers that we use, that we've been using for a long time, that we trust, that trust us, that our clients know.
When you're bringing people in for chunks of time, yes, you can bring them in repeatedly, and you start, over time, you'll build that relationship. But is there a method to how you treat them, or how you look after them, or what type of flights they're allowed, or hotel? Like what's the process that you've got? We love working with Delta. We'll just say, yes, we'll come over whenever you want us.
I mean, the freelance market in the UK, it's how the industry survives. So a business of ours in the UK wouldn't have full-time technicians. It would have it would have an office team, an accounts team, and then every single job will be cherry-picking their freelancers. Whenever we know we've got a skill set that we're missing for a certain job, we'll speak to the people we need of that skill set.
So the freelancers are only as good as their last job, and therefore they have to behave well to some degree.
Absolutely.
So it's quite a good way of
and
doing
it. We enjoy what we do. We love what we do. We pride ourselves on being a fun company. Yeah. Not that we take things very seriously, obviously, but we like to enjoy ourselves. Yeah. So we've worked with some freelancers in the past who are very good at what they do, but kind of haven't fitted in. to the style of our business or haven't enjoyed the process, and you can tell when someone's enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah.
But as I say, we're lucky now that we've found the people that like working with us, and our clients like it. It's ultimately important as well, because that's they're the front face of the company. I can deal with someone for 6 months, but on the day, it's the person that's operating the kit and is the front face of the company.
Yeah. And I mean, so you recently won an award for the King's Visit.
Yep, Company of the Year award at Digital Jersey.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you very much.
I mean, was that, so talk me through, was that a mixture of a lot of locals and a lot of was it a technically difficult job, or what was the basis on which that happened?
It was technically difficult because we're used to streaming, but that was just streaming on a massive scale. It was remote cameras across various points of the island, and it needed to be a high quality delivery because it was for the government. It was the King's Visit, and it was for thousands of people to be able to view on the stream, not just in Jersey, but around the world. We brought some equipment in to be able to, from the UK, to be able to remote camera. So I think we probably had 8 cameras at various points during the day, different camera shots, and that was something we were really proud of.
So is there ever a time where a client will ask for something that you think, oh no, we're not up to that, or would you just always
No, because we love a challenge.
Yeah.
And there's not many things technically we haven't worked on.
Yeah.
And if there's something we don't think we can achieve, we'll sit down as a team and we'll work out how we can achieve it. And we would never try to achieve it if we weren't comfortable and confident that we could deliver that to 100% of how we should do, because it's our reputation at the end of the day and the reputation of the brand of the client.
And you guys are, so I mean, what is there a next innovation in the kit or the service, or what's are we getting holograms? So what's happening next?
It's difficult because there's lots of technology we see at exhibitions that we'd like to invest in, but what we invest in has to not sit on the shelf for 6 months. Yeah. So, it'd be great to be hologram projections, but the market isn't there.
Right.
So the last big investment we had was the LED video wall. We bought a 10x4 video wall. We invested heavily in that. A lot of the events can be quite similar over here, and a lot of clients saying, look, what can we do different? How can we present different? And when we purchased that video wall, it can go out as a bog standard 10x4 video wall. It can go out as columns. It can go out as goalposts. So it definitely has given us a far more creative way to deliver clients' messages.
Okay.
And we're very, very pleased that we invested.
Yeah. No, you've done a great job with it. So, in terms back to the business, you got involved as MD 2010,
2008.
2008. Oh, okay, 2008, 2009. How long was it before you sort of said, well, I want to get to 40, I want to own the company, I want to get to 50, I want to sell it? I mean, how did it happen for people who are working somewhere and they've got the shareholder sort of above them as the owners? How did you get from MD to a shareholder in the company? What was the process for going through that?
So I think I'd got to the stage when we were starting to, I definitely felt that business was starting to progress. And you do get to an age when you think, what's my life going to look like when I'm 50, 60, 70? Yeah. How am I going to look after my family? How am I going to be able to how am I going to be able to live my life when I get to a certain age? Because I'm going to retire.
Yep.
And I think, as I say, I'd always wanted to pay people's wages, not having paid to me, but as I say, in a way that I can control my own outcome. So it was kind of just a natural progression in my head. Once I'd started to understand the role and the business was progressing, it was a conversation with the two shareholders and owners, saying, look, what's the next step for me? This is what I'd like to be part of the business in a more tangible way. What's the opportunities? And it wasn't a quick conversation, because obviously Kristen and Lloyd, who I'm very close to, had owned the business for a long time, since the start of the business. So it wasn't a quick conversation. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there was lots of consideration from their side. But I think over the course of maybe a year, 18 months, we just got to the stage where they could understand what I wanted and the difference we were all making to the business. And it was just kind of a natural progression. But it was led by my questioning what is happening next to me.
You don't get. Yeah. So, and I mean, in terms of for people that have not been through that process, once there's broad agreement of, well, we'll look at this and we'll work out how it fits together, what do you remember of the process and the speed and the way that it came together?
It definitely took a long time, because I remember I actually signed my life away effectively. Yeah. Myself and my wife, who I'm incredibly lucky that she's so supportive. Mm-hmm. We remortgaged our house to be able to invest in the business. Yeah. That was November 2019, and then 4 months later, COVID hits.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what have I done here?
Yeah.
It was a lengthy process from start to finish, but I had to. There's lots of ways you can do it. If you've got the money, you can just buy the business or buy the shares that are being offered to you.
Yeah.
That option wasn't available to me. So Kristen and Lloyd structured a deal where I would invest in the business over a number of years. I had to pay a lump sum at the start, so it's been a process where I've had to pay for it over a number of years, which thankfully. So I own 33% of the business with Kristen and Lloyd, so we're joint shareholders. But it's taken me a while to get that.
In terms of the way that the valuation came together, what was the process for understanding that?
Asking our accountants.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I was so green to it. I didn't have a clue. So what the process was. So obviously I sought advice from you guys, as Kristen and Lloyd did, because they'd never been through that process before where they were selling a portion of the business. So it was a collaborative approach with you guys, and you really steered us through that at the time as well. So we wouldn't have been able to do that without your support and advice, that's for sure.
You said a lot of people would want to own a piece of their own, of what they're doing every day, but very few of them are willing to put their house up, and sometimes they are, but their partner's not. So, I mean, looking back at it, how much nervousness was there about, right, I'm gonna get some debt and I'm gonna do it? Was it just?
I wasn't, at the time I wasn't nervous, because again, I've very much been, if something goes wrong, I'll worry about it when it happens. And that might not be the right way to live your life, but it's the way I've always kind of I have lived my life. So I wasn't nervous. Obviously, when you coming to sign the actual documents, you're like, this is quite big, but I've always had confidence in our business that we would be able to deliver results.
Yeah.
So that took away the nervousness, because I know that we've got a solid business, very creative, really good at what they do. So that kind of did take away any residual nervousness I had.
So Delta is over 30 years old, and continues to be successful. What do you think it is that stops complacency setting in? Because there's one or two competitors in Jersey and Guernsey. Has there been people trying to set up and come through that keeps the competition and the competitive juices going, or what is it that makes sure that there's no complacency in the business? From
our side, it's the want to get better ourselves. We understand there's competition in any business. We do not have any problems with that, and we get on very well with people who are perceived as our competitors or competitors in our industry. But for us, we've always concentrated on what we've done. That's the most important thing to us. We don't look over our shoulder, because if you look over your shoulder, you're not concentrating on what you're doing yourself. So we've always thought, if we concentrate on what we do, we look after our clients, we look after our staff, we invest in new equipment, we are the best at what we do. Every day we try and put 100% into what we do. That, for me, is more important than keeping your eye on your competitor.
And you guys often talk about the Delta Sparkle. I mean, how do you ensure that happens consistently?
From our side, we're very, very hot on its personality, because you can buy a marquee from anywhere, you can buy a book from anywhere. It's how you're looked after and how you're made to feel when you engage with that service provider. And for us, it's always about how you look after people. And I think that's how we've built a reputation, because yes, we've got great kit, yes, we've got great people, but it's hopefully our clients keep coming back because it's how we look after them, how we make them feel.
And do you think that, is it culture, is it KPIs, is it what is it that makes sure that you do look after them in that way?
I think it's culture. We are very pro creating a culture where our staff enjoy what they do, they feel looked after, because if you look after your staff, they will look after the clients on site. And we're not doing it because we want to look after our clients on site per se. We're doing it because we want to create that culture. We want people to want to come to work.
Yeah.
We want people to want to go out at the weekend with their work colleagues. We want to create that culture. It's difficult at times, like it would be in any business, and nothing goes perfectly all the time, as it doesn't in life. But it's something we really try hard to create that culture and make sure people enjoy what they do.
And if you were to look back, say, last, ignoring COVID, because that was obviously a nightmare, what would you look back and go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, or I damaged the culture here, or is there anything you sort of did where you don't strike me as a I've got regrets person, but no. If there was something where you thought, oh, bollocks, I wish I'd done that differently.
No, because it's all been part of the journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, okay.
I know that sounds a bit cliche, again, part of the journey, but when I first became managing director, if I had to make 10 decisions in a day, I was probably getting 5 right.
Right.
But you can't regret them. You've got to make those decisions and just carry on, because if you procrastinate on the decisions...
indecision is final.
Exactly.
In terms of things you think, if I'd have done that, not necessarily if I'd done that earlier, but are there things that you look back and goes, that was such a good decision, I'm really pleased that we did that? What sort of things have...
The decisions we made during COVID.
Yeah.
The decisions we made around investing in our LED wall. A lot of the decisions we make around investing in kit, I'm glad we did, but one of the best decisions we as a business have made was engaging you guys in 2014. 100%.
Thank you.
The growth it's given our business in terms of how we've developed has been incredible. So that is definitely, I think, probably in the 20 years I've been in the business, short of COVID, that's the best decision we as a business have made.
What do you think? Because I'm terrible at telling this. So what do you think? What's the difference in having that information available? How does it make a difference in what you're doing day to day?
It makes a difference because we can make informed decisions. Sometimes we've been making decisions like, this feels right. Now we make decisions because we know it's right. Most of the time, our decisions that feel right are right, but we need someone to be able to go, that's probably not the right decision at this time in this business side with what you've got coming up and the pipeline. So it's given us the comfort to make. It's given us the comfort to make quicker, stronger decisions. It's also given us some accountability as well. We come from an events background, so we're very much like we're focused on delivering the events, looking after our clients. Where every month we've got someone asking us difficult questions, which we probably wouldn't ask of ourselves because it wouldn't be in our mindset to ask those questions. So we've definitely 100% become a far more stable business, a far more comfortable business to make decisions off our own back now. But yes, you've definitely given us that strength and comfort.
Do you think there's, something if you can predict with relative accuracy the consequences of something, is there a impact of having a level of confidence that means, well, we know if we achieve A, then B will happen, and therefore we're going to go for A rather than not knowing exactly what might happen and therefore not going after it in the same way? Is there a different feeling around that, or not really? Or do you think we'll always make it work? It's just how we make it work.
Yeah, it's just how you navigate it. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the next chapter for Delta Events? Obviously, you're always investing in kit, but is there a wider, is there something for you personally, or is there something for the business where you think, it's all going well and you're going to maintain that, and you've got every day, you've got the energy to redo it. But, when you're looking at the island and the wider strategy for Delta, what do you think are the big things to think about over the next few years?
For us, the next couple of years are just about continuing to deliver to a high quality. We've got to keep our eye on what's happening in the island. And again, we can't forecast too much in our business because it's quite cyclical.
Transactional.
Yeah, well, it is. But, at the start of the year, we're very much a 3-month business. So the next 3 months are busy. The 3 months after that don't look busy now, but they always will be. So we want to consolidate that. We want to make some more investments in the next year. We're just working through what we're going to invest in at the moment in the next couple of months, but we will make some investments. And we've just got to keep our eye on what's happening in the island economy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been here a long time. Do you sense a difference now in previous decades or not? Or
I think at the moment, if the island for the last couple of years has felt stable. I'm not too sure I feel that moving forward into the next couple of years, but it has felt stable over the last couple of years. So we've been comfortable, but again, it's...
Well, running a business is an everyday thing, right? And so it's looking forward, but looking after now and making sure that both those things happen. I was to say to you, we called this, rather arrogantly called this podcast GreatAtBusiness. What is the, and all the people that I'm talking to have done something fantastic over a long period of time. They've been successful and they've got the energy every day to do something about looking after the business, looking after the team, looking after the clients. I mean, if I said to you, what's your definition of #GreatAtBusiness? I mean, what do you think what's the difference between a great business and a good business?
If you've got a business where clients continually come back to you for the way you look after them and the way you service them, that for me is a great business. And that's what I feel we have. We've got clients who come back time after time because we look after them and we deliver to a high technical level. So in our industry, you've got to deliver to a high technical level, but it's how we look after people.
Yeah.
So that for me, as I say, if people keep coming back time after time, that's a great business.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so thank you very much for taking the time. I know it wasn't your first choice of thing you wanted
definitely
to do,
not. But
I really appreciate the time.
Likewise, thank you.
I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Likewise,
Thanks very much.